My name is Emily Brock, and I'm a historian, and I work in environmental history and in history of science. And while I've been here at the Carson Center, I've been studying the American period in the Philippines and forest management and forest ecology during that time. During the period of wooden navies, there was a lot of interest by the major sea powers in maintaining forests around the world, sort of either on their own land or in the colonies that they kept. In the 19th century, of course, forest management gets kind of turned into a science and becomes really a profession. This shift really affected the way that people thought about the potential for forests and the controllability of the forest resource kind of over the long term. And forestry became much more about kind of predicting future economic profits rather than just kind of maintaining this constant resource. This is, I would say, probably a general shift into the 20th century, where you start to get the lumber markets really controlled by private corporations increasingly. So that's one shift. I would say at the same time, the other side of this is the split away from forestry by people who are interested in the pure sort of like biological side of the forest, the field that becomes forest ecology. The work that I'm doing right now is about the American period in the Philippines, which is from the Spanish-American War in 1898 through the end of World War II and the kind of post-World War II recovery. During this period, the United States had varying levels of authority over the landscapes of the Philippines. The agenda of American forestry was being translated into a much different context, into a place, a part of the world, and an ecological reality of the forest that was so different from the American one. And the result of that was that the American agenda just kind of gets expressed in very interesting and complex ways, and not necessarily very successfully. The issues that the Philippines and other smaller kind of emerging nations have to deal with now environmentally are really monumental, and a lot of times it appears as if the problems that they're having are just the result of their own kind of like recent mismanagement, or sort of the lack of funds available to actually finish any management program or something. But in reality, a lot of the problems have much deeper roots and can be traced back before the periods of independence into the colonial past of a lot of these nations. I like the idea of being able to map onto the contemporary Philippines some of the decisions that were made by people who are not Filipino and who are working with an agenda that was really foreign to the area and not very, very well matched to the realities of Philippine forests. But the forests that we have today are always the result of resource management decisions that were made one or two generations earlier. So when we look at a forest, a lot of times we can really see all of these decisions written very, very openly on the landscape.